Hey everyone, how's everyone doing tonight? I remember when I was a teacher and nobody listened to me in my classes, and now that I'm a stand up comic, still nobody listens to me. It's been a real smooth transition to retirement. I hate that game, Chinese checkers. It's one of the first board games I played. I mean, it's not even Chinese, it's made in Germany. And some white guy repackaged it so they could sell it with all these shitty imperial colors and some kind of stupid board design with connecting triangles. It's not even checkers, for fuck's sake. I mean, if I'm going to play a Chinese game, I'm going to play one that I really can't understand, like Mahjong. You guys know that game Sorry? That was originally patented by a Canadian, which makes sense because the goal in that game is to see how many times you can apologize. Chinese people don't do good with board games. Board games have time limits. Some board games have time limits, like Password and Pictionary. And Chinese people practice circular thinking. Now, I wasn't even very good at math, but I know that the shortest distance to 2 points is not a circle. Let me give you an example. When we played the word password with my sis, her password was fired and her clue was bus. And we tried to figure out how could bus be related to fired. And after the game, we had to ask her, and she gave us this explanation. She said, well, the dog was sick, so I had to stay home. And then I missed the bus, which made me late for work. And then I got fired. Well, now it makes sense. I guess everybody played that game Monopoly. That game was just a game for budding narcissists, little Donald Trumps in training. Oh, you can't pay for your rent? Well, why don't you liquidate all your properties then? I don't care if there's a family of 5 Mexicans living in St. Charles Place. Just kick them out. Show them the street. Or maybe you can ask one of your friends at Tennessee Avenue to take them in. Did that get all a little too real for you? Yeah, me too. I started tearing up a little bit. What if we played board games with the wrong people? Like I used to play Battleship with my autistic brother, and I would just enjoy blowing up his battleship with making big explosive noises just so I could see him hide under the table. Remember that game Trouble? That was an interesting game. Wasn't that a great game for dysfunctional family members? Like you'd already be fighting with your brother, and then to make it worse, you'd play a game where if you land on his piece, you send him back home. Good thing those pieces were tight and not easily removed from the game board, and the dice were enclosed in a unbreakable bubble because he didn't need any more ammo. I like to play Jenga with my OCD brother. We could barely finish the game. When he saw the blocks on the table, he kept on biting his nails and trying to repile them. Scrabble was fun with my other dyslexic sister. I always won. I'd love to play Scrabble with Trump. No, Mr. President, Covfefe is not a double word score. Do you know there's new female empowerment version of Monopoly? They want to make it so that men make less money than the women. So when the women pass go, they get $240. And when the men pass go, they get $200. But I'm not worried because when they go to jail, all the women do the housework because the warden is still a male. I wonder if they made a new empowerment version of Clue. You know that game where you have to guess the murderer, the room, and the murder weapon? I think it would kind of go like this. I think it was Cherry in the dungeon with a strap on. You know, when you have to become a house guest for someone, that's not any fun, is it? Like they always give you the shittiest room. It's that funky room at the end of the hallway that has the bad smell. It hasn't been used for 20 years and it was only used for storage. And when you go in there, you feel like you're on a set for The Walking Dead. Inside, there's a shag carpet with oak paneling. And your first thought is, how many murders have been committed in this room? And then you see the boat person bed pushed against the wall with the Star Wars sheet and the C-3PO comforter. I always have difficulty falling asleep in other people's beds, but especially this one because I don't like the thought of Luke Skywalker's face sniffing my ass all night. Just when you get settled down, you hear the proverbial knock. This knock is to tell you that the toilet down the other end of the hallway doesn't work properly and you have to jiggle the shifter or it'll run all night. Well, if you're like me, you don't like following orders. So I use that toilet and I forget to jiggle the shifter. Now, I don't know why people don't just replace that defective part. Like everybody has this toilet or seen this kind of toilet where it doesn't stop running if you don't jiggle the lever. So I use the toilet, but I don't jiggle the lever. In the morning, I've got a little bit of a flood. Now I wish I could change into Moses and part the Red Sea, if you know what I mean. Don't you just hate it when you're a host and you get a guest that never wants to leave? Like you leave them all kinds of clues, like you use all the hot water or turn the air conditioning on at night, that kind of thing. The one I like is when you grab your fattest Sharpie from the kitchen and you write "not" just before the welcome on your welcome mat. Only problem is he still doesn't get it. Sometimes when you're on the road, you have to resort to staying in a Motel 6. This is the cheapest motel in the United States. They should call it the Motel 666 because the desk clerk looks like the devil and the cleaning staff always look pissed off like they're as demons. I stayed at a Motel 6 in San Francisco, and I didn't even ask for a wake-up call because in the morning a cockroach slapped me just after he robbed me. Sometimes when you drive late at night, you have to resort to one of these motels. The room always looks like it's been used for some kind of porno. I guess if you probably took one of those black light devices, the thing would blow up because there's more than enough cream for several cups of coffee, if you get my drift. I think we don't give enough credit to people outside our society, like stalkers. Stalkers take such good care in looking after your loved ones. And burglars are really good property managers. They're very good at managing all your property. And serial killers, they're great at population control. Do you know how hard it is to be a stalker? You have to do double the amount of errands. If she goes to the grocery store, you have to go to the grocery store. If she goes to the dry cleaners, you have to go to the dry cleaners. And if she goes to get her ass bleached, you have to go to the grocery store. I think we can blame teachers for creating all the serial killers. Because in kindergarten, a lot of teachers wrote that comment, "works well alone." And Ted Bundy and all the other serial killers took that comment too literally. They did their best work alone. Okay, thanks for coming. That's the end of my show.